Can you tell me your name, your role and the course you were studying when you had your international experience?
Okay, well I'm now Professor Dominic Shellard. I'm the Vice-Chancellor of Montfort University. But when I had my international experience, I think it was 1987 and 1988, I was studying English and modern languages at St Peter's College in Oxford.
And what was your international experience? Where did you go and for how long?
Well, as a third year of my degree, I had the opportunity to spend a year in Germany. And at the time, it was still the era of the Berlin Wall, and I really wanted to go to Berlin, but everybody who studied German in the UK at that time wanted to go to Berlin, and I didn't think I'd be lucky enough. But amazingly, it was like winning the lottery, and I was told, I think in the summer of my second year, that I was going to go and work in a comprehensive school in West Berlin, which people forget now was actually in the middle of East Germany. So there was a wall all the way around the part of West Berlin, which was the famous Berlin Wall. And I arrived there in September 1987, and I left in the summer of 1988. And everybody says to me, what a shame you weren't there the year the wall came down. But actually it was a fantastic year to be there, because I can remember this terrible situation of having this wall which was designed to stop people moving from East Germany into West Berlin. Even though they described it as the anti-fascist protection wall, the East Germans claimed it was to stop the West Germans, the fascists, going into East Germany. So it was actually great to experience that in a sort of perverse sort of way.
And how did the experience benefit your life, either personally or in your career?
Oh, I just learned so much during that year, understanding about a different culture. I remember being incredibly homesick to begin with, and sticking it out for the first 3 months is one of my proudest achievements, I think. I was so tempted virtually every day to go back home. I realised that my German degree had not equipped me to speak German. I was able to talk about Schiller's Das Erhabene der Fassung, which is a theory of the sublime, but I couldn't order a glass of beer in a restaurant, which was ridiculous. So I just learned so much about myself, about resilience. Also, I think it was the first time that I'd ever gone abroad, and I realised how proud I was of my country. Even though it was at the time run by Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher, who I didn't respect at all. But it gives you a different perception about your family and your friends and what you hold dear. But I think the most amazing thing was just all the different experiences I encountered. Yeah, it was just the most amazing year of my life.
And what have employers thought about your international experience throughout your career?
Well, I don't think there's a single job interview that I have had where I haven't mentioned the fact that I lived in West Berlin for 9 months, and they're all really interested in the fact that I've had this experience in another country. Perhaps I've got a more global perspective on the world than I might have done. I've done a very un-British thing and learned a foreign language. Not that I'm able to speak much of it now, but it was a great thing at the time. And yeah, I just think that and QPR are the two things I've always mentioned in my job interviews.
Were you inspired to work abroad or focus on international pursuits following your experience in Berlin?
Well, I definitely think my experience in Berlin inspired me to launch #DMU Global at DMU, because I can remember how much I benefited from that period of 9 months overseas. And I think there were similarities between now and the 1980s, when Britain was seen as quite an insular country. And I think the more that we can engage with international experiences in a meaningful manner, the better it is for... It's just enjoyable for our students, as well as it's going to be useful and helpful for employability. So there's definitely a link here.
And what would you like to say to students who are thinking of having an international experience with DMU Global?
I'd say think about it for about 2 seconds and then say yes. I mean, it's a kind of no-brainer. The things that our students have done in the pilot study alone, I just think are inspirational. They've been to the Gambia, they've been to Kyushu in Japan, they've worked in India, they've been to Brazil. Some tremendous video footage from about what happened when they're out in Brazil. And it's all subsidised, and there's no other university in the country that's offering this type of scheme at the moment. So grasp it with both hands and do it immediately.
If you were to sum up your experience in just a few words, what would you say?
Wow. If I were to sum up my experience in just a few words, it would be ausgezeichnet, prima, herrlich, wunderbar. Excellent, wonderful, amazing, brilliant.